Hey there, YouTube. Welcome back. This is the Allegheny Northern and N scale, and today we're going to do the July 2023 layout update. And I know that this has been it seems like a rough summer for uh, all of the modelers. It seems like everybody is just sort of out of sorts right now and trying to do other things other than modeling. So let's take you through, show you what got done this month. It's just a little bit, but it's something to show. One of the large scenery items that I was able to complete, and I'm really happy with it, is the addition of the AK Interactives. I guess they're kind of like flowering weeds or brush. And I did a quick review of them in the last update, but I didn't really have it all installed. But now you can see that I put it along the tracks here, and I'll tell you what, it does make a difference. It looks like I think it's supposed to be, underbrush for dioramas, and AK Interactive is geared more towards the military model folks. But in N scale, it looks like small trees, and they're opportunistic trees, like the like crabapple trees and things that sort of just pop up out of the hillside unwanted, and sort of nuisance. But it looks really good here in N scale, so I'm happy with the way that turned out. And I'll take you around here, the corner, and I just added those along the roundhouse there. So really happy with the way those turned out. And yes, I did break out my RS there just to. I think he's going to stay down here at the passenger terminal, and he's going to be doing all of my switching for setting up the passenger trains. So I was playing around with some scrap styrene pieces and trying to see what I could do here at the station and kind of give you an idea of what I'm thinking. So obviously the main station sits up above here. This is going to be some kind of a courtyard type of deal where people can sit and wait for their trains or wait for their loved ones' trains to arrive. And then I was kind of playing with some shapes as to how this might look. So obviously right now this needs some sort of structure to hold it. It's just sort of sitting on the end of the station platforms, which is not how that's going to go. And this all needs tied together and columns and whatnot. But I was playing with the general shape, and this is kind of sort of what I think it's going to look like. And the idea was lots of glass, because I want you to be able to see in here, so that when I light this, you're going to be able to see, one, a full detailed interior terminal, and then two, you can see the if you're the operator, you can see where your train is against the bumper. So putzed around with that a little bit, trying to get some ideas of what I might like. I don't know if I'm going to keep those arches or if I'm going to do something different there. So that's just trying some things with some scrap plastic that I had just to see what would look good. Sort of a more detailed mock-up, I guess. So I moved this little cabin over into the winter scene, and I found in my scrap box some fence, and it looks perfect for a little cabin in the woods, and maybe a little road there. So put that and painted that, put that in place. Obviously, I need to get some snow on here. I think I'm going to have some folks maybe sitting out burning some wood or chopping some wood, something out here, you would do in the winter and in the woods. So I do have some snow to put on the roof, and I'm going to use these new AK Interactive products that I picked up. So I'm going to give these a shot and see how they work out, and then I'll probably do an update on those just so everybody can see. Also going to use this to refresh some of the areas where I have my melting snow down over here. So this scene took a little bit of abuse here just because I had some work done on the house's internet, and all that stuff sits right up above here. And so this was sort of an abused area. So I want to get that sort of cleaned up a little bit now, and I'm going to once again use that snow product from AK Interactive to do that. Okay, I have been moving locomotives around on the layout, getting them paired together and set basically to how I'm going to use them on the layout here. So I got rid of, I had some Burlington Northern and some other locomotives back here. Got rid of all of those since Norfolk Southern is the primary road on the lower deck. So I traded all of those locomotives out. These are actually my helper locomotives. You may remember the NS unit there. There's two Katos. They have amazing pulling power. They're just really strong locomotives. And I think they're SD80s. Don't quote me on that. But in any event, I got them paired together here. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these on this siding as a sort of makeshift helper pocket. And the reason being is from here, I can get them to come out onto the main line, pick up a train right here on the main, and then give it a shove all the way up the hill on I think the other side there. So I think that's what I'm going to do for now until I come up with a better plan because I don't have really a helper pocket built in anywhere. So right now that's sort of the game plan until I come up with something better. But I can't remember if I showed you these two tie extractor and a tamper. 3D printed, picked those up from Shapeways, got them painted. There's not a whole lot to paint on them because basically they're yellow in real life. But in any event, pretty cool. Pretty happy with the model. So if you go online and look those up, you can find those for yourself. And I think that's pretty much going to make this track here is going to be a maintenance of way storage track. It's what I've been using it for, and it just seems to work. It doesn't really serve any other purpose, and it is next to this little maintenance sort of facility. So I think we're just going to keep that the way it is. Okay, up on the upper deck. Started putzing around with this a little bit more. So what I've got there is some styrene sidewalks kind of laid out where I think they're going to go. And I built some background structures there. Obviously, this guy's not painted, but just started massing some things out there. I've got one more building I'm going to put right there on the corner, and then I'm going to start leveling that thing out and getting the roads built and wrapping up the basic scenery of this scene. Now, what I want to do is I do want to put a couple of small trees and some things in here, but I don't want to do that until I'm done working down there because what I'll end up doing is just knocking it over and breaking them anyway. And as you can see, we are running trains today, and I don't want to jinx myself because they have been making loops without my intervention. And then as soon as I say that, I'm going to get a derailment somewhere. But the layout, at least the main line anyway, is running nicely. Okay, so I have continued my basic scenery back here down at the Y. So this is the Y up to staging. And I got to tell you, I have been running trains up and down on this track. Yeah, it's still super steep, and yeah, the trains still have trouble with it. That's why I do legitimately need the helper service. But the important thing is they do run smoothly over this bridge, over this moving section. So that was something that I had worked on kind of last month, beginning of this month, and I did get it. I did get it working, and it is running nicely. So that is, it's always nice when something that wasn't working starts working. But basic scenery here. So the idea is I'm going to continue this road up here. I'm going to have the fire station. I'm going to get this propped up so that I'm going to make it look like there is a show going on, so that sometimes every now and then the fire departments will bring their equipment out and let the kids come and see the stuff. So that's what I think I'm going to do with this scene because I don't have a burning building set up, but I do want to get lights on these fire trucks. So at some point in time I will run lights for these things, but right now they're going to be just static. And then I built this modern gas station, convenience store, type deal here. Don't mind the scenery material that's all over the place here, but once I get this road cleaned up and sanded off and everything, fill out with vehicles and people, we'll make it look like a bustling service center. And so got everything painted and decaled, and I actually unintentionally made this look like a local service station. It was not my intention. I just wanted a blue roof, and then I realized they had a blue roof. So I made sure that I varied enough other things so that it didn't look like something local here. And, obviously we don't have a Democrat in office, at least not here in Allegheny, because we are a little bit cheaper on the gas. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get this scenery built a little bit better here. So fill in this gap. This is the basic scenery that I like to do so I'm not running through a, unfoamed area, so to speak. So at some point in time, I'll come back. I will add the shrubs and the details and the static grass and all that sort of stuff. But for right now, this is still wet. Just put in this morning. Gonna let this all dry out. Okay, I know I keep teasing about the rain scene, but I am working on the rain scene. That'll have its own video. But right now, I just wanted to get the structures built, which you can see that they are. The sidewalks cut and placed, which you can see that they are. I ran the Just Plug system over to it, and there they are, all coiled up in the back there. So when this scene is done, I know I've mentioned it a couple times, and I'm going to keep teasing it until I actually get it put together here. But the idea is to have interiors to all of these buildings, have them lit, and make the scene look like an evening rain. I want it lit only by the ambient light that is part of the scene. So I don't want it coming from like I've got the big overhead lights on now. I want to block out as much of that as possible. I don't want that to be what lights the scene. So hence this sort of dark tunnel that it's being slowly put into. And then the major thing that's going to make it different is I want you as the viewer, when you were looking at this, to be able to tell that it's raining. So I don't want it to look like something that just happened. I want it to look like something that's happening in progress. So I've got a couple of different methods I'm going to try to see which one works. And as I do that, I will walk you through the process so you can see it as well. Okay, the last little item that I did was I got the decals onto the office, and I redid the parking lot so that the office to the mine wasn't sitting out in nowhere. Rearranged the vehicles just a little bit because I took some space away from them, but I still have the working on the haul road scene, loading out some coal, building the road. That's all still the same. Now, the other thing that I did was I shuffled the cars around just a little tiny bit here because I was working on the scenery and basically they were in the way. So I was using the train to sort of move them about. I do have scenery that I need to complete up here, but because it's got its basic scenery in, I really haven't spent much time on it. So it looks like a functional mine at this point. I think once I get some of these other areas finished, I'm going to drop back and work on that. Alright, so that was pretty much what happened in the month of July. I know it was a little bit, wasn't a ton. I was a lot of days I just didn't make it down to the train room, so things sort of got backed up just a little bit. But I think it's always important to remember that this is a hobby, and you do it when you have the time. And sometimes I feel like we get lost a little bit, and there's the urge, especially for folks who are doing content for, YouTube and other sort of things, where you sort of feel like you almost have to put out content. So there's a drive to do things and make everything spectacular. And you know what? Sometimes it's just things take a little bit longer, and real world gets in the way and that sort of thing. So you just can't get everything done. So that definitely happened here in July, and I'm sure August will probably be about the same, but once we start getting into the colder months, it'll be a little easier to escape down into the train room and get some things done. So let's talk about what things need to get done on the train room here coming up in August. I am still going to be ignoring the harbor. It's a mess. There's a bunch of stuff in there, and it's not what's on the docket for August. What I want to do is I want to come back over here into the city. I want to get the last structure built there. I want to get that set. I want to get the roads in place and sort of wrap up the big bulk work up here. If I can get that done, then I will be very happy, and I'll call that a successful modeling month. So that's going to be my primary focus is up here for the month of August. I also want to start getting back and weathering some locomotives and some rolling stock, and this is a prime example here. I mean, you can see that the locomotive, when you look underneath it, you just see how the trucks are all basically bleached out because everything's black and you just don't see the detail. So a little bit of weathering will bring all of that detail out that you have to zoom in to see, but it'll bring all that brake lines and hydraulic lines and all that sort of stuff out so that you can see it a little bit better when you're standing at a distance where it doesn't all black out. Same thing with some of the rolling stock. So I do need to sit down and do some weathering. So I'm probably going to try to get to that in August a little bit as well. The only thing about that is, obviously, it doesn't make for fantastic content, because when you come back into the end of the month here and you're ready to do your update video, great, I weathered like 2 box cars, a locomotive, and I built some buildings, and it doesn't really show up too much. But once again, it's the balance of I'm trying to put content together, but also I got to take my time and enjoy the modeling process. So for those of you who are content creators, I understand that struggle, and I feel you. So next month probably won't be a whole lot, but it's going to be important because we're slowly making our way to the terminal. This port is going to be this port terminal is going to be the last thing that I do. It's just going to be the final major build of the layout. So the game plan will be wrap this up in August, or get it close. Then wrap up the little scene where the gas station was, kind of get that all put together, and then finish the rain scene. That's going to be sort of the end of the year type of deal. Get that all done, and mainly because I'm waiting for that time of year where it's cold and it's rainy, and it looks cold and rainy all the time. That way, the inspiration to do it is right outside my window, and it's better than relying on photographs. So that's sort of the order, and then last but not least, jumping over into the far side there. So nothing was purchased this month for the layout. Everything that's on here was the stuff that you saw at the end of June, and there have been no hobby shop runs, no hobby shop buys. So everything is as it was in June. So I know that's odd, but I was under the impression that Kato was putting out their big boy with DCC and sound in July. At least that's what the website said. So I was kind of waiting for that. Didn't want to buy anything until that thing came out, because it's going to be a little bit pricey. But it never came out, so I don't know what happened if it got delayed. I've been checking, but whatever. So whenever that comes out, that's going to be the next probably major purchase. And yes, it is the only steam locomotive that will be on this layout, because I don't really do steam, but it's the locomotive that I think everybody instantly recognizes, even if they don't know. All right, folks, that is going to do us here for July. Hope everybody is enjoying their summer and the warm weather, and find the time to still make it down into the train room to get some modeling done. So I'm going to spend the rest of the day working on some little odds and ends here, getting some things cleaned up on the layout, and then we'll see you again here at the end of August.